Hi, this is Munson with Munson Music. I'm going to talk about how you can play a song called Tonight Looks Good on You by Jason Aldean. And we end up capoing this on 2nd fret to kind of match the recording, but we'll walk through a couple things in reposition just in case you don't have a capo. And there are some really cool licks actually in the intro and actually through the tune. And actually we'll talk about a couple scales you could kind of play around with. But you could start off with kind of just a big C major chord actually at the very beginning. And normally you do this first finger on the B 1st fret, second finger on the D 2nd, third finger on the A 3rd fret. And if you strum the A string to the high E string, that sounds a C major chord and it sounds really happy. Now randomly around C's, you may also dig on lifting the first finger, making that a C major 7. Or you could add in the pinky on the B 3rd for C major 9 and kind of say some stuff around C. Or another way to play C major 9, we'll be doing first finger on the D 2nd, second finger on the A 3rd, third finger on the B 3rd, pinky on the high E 3rd, kind of working that for your C major. And then from the C, actually, you'll kind of hear these cool little licks. And if we were working this without the capo, you could even start off with kind of that C major with an open E note, kind of just big down on the C. And then you may want to go to 5th fret on the high E and do a slide to 7. And then we go back to 5 on the high E, 3rd on the high E, 5th on the B, and then 3rd on the B string is kind of a hammer on the 5th, and then 3rd on the high E, and then you want to start that lick over again. 5 7 5 3 5 3 5 3 5 7 5 3 5 3 5 3, and then kind of end that with a 5th fret on the B string note, and kind of through the intro. Or you could kind of back that up with chords by starting on an E minor chord actually when that lick kind of starts off. And normally you do this first finger on the A 2nd, second finger on the D 2nd. And if you strum all those together, that sounds an E minor chord and it sounds really sad. Now you may also dig on adding in 3rd finger on the B 3rd, pinky on the high E 3rd, kind of working that for the minor. And randomly through the intro, and actually this kind of comes back for the verse and the chorus, sometimes you'll kind of hear the 2nd fret on the D string to the open D string kind of come out around that chord, kind of 2 2 0 0 2 2 0 0 2 2 0 0. And I'm adding a little bit of right hand meaning to that, kind of laying my right hand down on top of the saddle. Or you may want to kind of try that around the chord, kind of adding and subtracting in 2nd finger. And then there's a really quick hit to a D major chord, actually after the E minor. And normally you do this first finger on the G 2nd fret, second finger on the high E 2nd, and 3rd finger on the B string 3rd. And if you strum the D string to the high E string, that sounds a D major chord and it sounds really happy. Now, around Ds in general, you may want to think about lifting the 2nd finger, always a fun finger lift. That makes it D sus too. Or you could add in the pinky on the high E 3rd for D suspended and kind of say some stuff around the D. And then from the D we go back to our C major chord. And then from the C you'll kind of hear another really quick hit to a D chord. Now you could just completely ignore those D hits actually. And you may want to kind of just try just a down count on that. Kind of E minor 2 3 4 5 6 7 8, E minor, C, if you just want to ignore that D idea. Or if you want to kind of get the D in there, that can give you a lot of energy to push back to the next chord. And you could do E minor for an 8 count, and then E minor for 6, 1 2 3 4 5 6, and then hit the D for the last 2, back to C for 8, and then C for 6, and then back to the D. Kind of get a little bit of energy. Or you could work a strum pattern. And one of my favorite strum patterns for a 4/4 like this is down, down, up, up, down, up. So do the E minor and just try that a lot to get used to that. You have E minor, down, up, down, 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 down. And you can completely ignore that D hit though if you're just starting out and just kind of have that E minor, another E minor, and then just work that straight to your C chord. And not worry about that D chord change. Or if you want to get the D in there, then on those E minor D halving, you may want to do the E minor with the down, down, up, up, and then save the last down up for the D chord. So E minor, down, down, up, D, kind of when we get to that spot. So you have E minor, B, C, C, D, kind of an idea. Or if you're digging on that lick, actually that 2 to the open idea around the E minor, you could kind of work that for the E minor idea, and then kind of work it as like a little piece of the C chord, kind of working lick in the scale. Next chord C. Another C. So it might be kind of cool to kind of play around with some of those notes too. Now the weird part is to play along with Jason Aldean, instead of starting on a C chord, he's starting on a D major chord. So to play along with the recording, what you want to do is take a capo, and if you put the capo on 2nd fret, then now your C is really a D major chord, and your D major chord is really an E major chord, and your E minor is really an F sharp minor, and randomly we don't ever play the G, but if we did, it'd be an A major chord. So if we took it from the very beginning, you may want to start with just that big C chord idea, and then we have our intro lick, and now your 5 is really 7. Intro it with kind of that lead idea, or you could work it with the chords, and you could do just the down idea, kind of E minor, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, D, C, C, or you can even just leave that D idea out, or you can do the E minor with the down, down, up, down, up. Then we're going into our first verse. Just kind of keeps that progression going, and you could work it any of those ways we've been talking about. And you may want to kind of try mixing it up between those ideas too. E minor, down, up, D, C, C, E minor, D, C, same progression that we started with. Now one other thing I think about adding to the song though is bass notes. And a lot of times on that first down of the down, down, up, down, up, you can kind of throw in a bass for the chord. So you have your E minor with the below E for the bass. On the D you'd have the D for the bass. On the C you'd have the A for the bass. So you can kind of work that as even kind of just ignoring the D hit, and working E minor with a bass, down, down, E minor, bass, your D hits. E minor, bass, down, D, C, C, D. Or if you're digging on the 16th idea, you could work it as a bass, down, down, up, down, down, up, down, or a bass, bass, down, down, up, down, 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 or a bass, bass, down, down, up, bass, down, up, down. Can all be cool variations. So you have E minor, that D just to get used to that feel. C, C. We can work basses in with your D half. Minor, minor, D, C, C. Kind of cool. And then we'll basically be repeating that for our kind of an intro return and back through our verse and then back through our next chorus, until we get to our bridge part. And on the bridge, you could work just bass, down, up, down, up. And you have E minor, D, C, C. Or you may dig on kind of working the 16th feel. E minor, D, C. We're adding and subtracting things around the chords. Can be cool. Or if you're digging on kind of working some lead ideas, or if you're playing solo out and you want to just kind of add more licks, you could experiment with that G major scale. And there's lots of ways to kind of work licks around these actually. Pull-offs, hammer-ons, slides in the scale, combinations of those, bends. kind of mix them up. So you may want to kind of experiment with that free form idea, kind of the E minor, lick, D, lick, C, lick, C. Or even kind of working the strumming with that idea too, actually can be cool. Intro lick ideas that kind of working those notes around that idea too. So we'll kind of experiment with that. And then from there, we'll be going into our outro chorus, kind of back to our main intro progression. And you could even play around with that 2-0 idea that we kind of started with, actually, kind of E minor, C, C, or mixing it up using any of these ways. And actually, if you've got other strum patterns that you love to use, you know, feel free to kind of take this lesson and make it your own too. It's always cool to kind of see what you can say with the song. But that's the basics of how you can strum through Tonight Looks Good on You by Jason Aldean. So good luck. Hi, wherever you are in YouTube land. This is Munson Summer with Munson Music Live, Munson Guitar Songs, Munson Covers, and Munson Jam Tracks. Thanking you for watching this video, and I hope you got something out of this video. I hope you like this video and subscribe to the channel to see lots more like it. I'm always open to your requests. If you have a song that you love, please let me know so I can write it down on the request list so I can add that to it, because there are probably other people out there who love that song too and would love to learn how to play it. So thanks so much for all the love that you give me, and I hope that you're doing well and kind of figuring out how you can talk with the instrument. We are a small music shop in the middle of nowhere in South Carolina, and you're supporting us by watching this channel. Really appreciate all that love. So best of luck, and let me know if there's anything that I can do to help you in particular too. You can contact me on Facebook. You can leave a message here in the comments section, and I respond to all the comments that I get. So best of luck to you wherever you are.